Welcome back, all you kings, queens, and in-betweens, to the first episode of the This Week in Weeb podcast of 2026. Are you excited, Elaine?
I am so excited, Jer.
What are you excited for?
Well, I'm excited for the fact that I feel like the SpongeBob meme. I'm excited, I'm excited, I'm excited. And also all of the returning and new anime. We have a very stacked season. I feel like all the animators over in Japan were like, people got nothing going on. It's cold. Let's give them something to watch.
Yeah, this definitely is a very stacked season when it comes to returning anime as well as some interesting looking new anime. And we're just going to get back into the swing of doing this Week in Weeb podcast, talking about the stuff that we watch each week. And I think that's going to be fun for everybody.
Me too.
So what do you want to talk about first when it comes to this episode, Elaine?
Well, I think that we left off last year and also into this year with our recap of season 1 of Hell's Paradise. I feel very well versed in everything that went on, and we have watched the first episode of season 2, and I think it's time we discuss a little.
Yes, if you haven't watched it, it's already up on the channel. The recap of season 1, if you are preparing to watch season 2, or if you've started watching season 1 and you're like, I don't remember half this stuff. Well,
you mean season 2?
What? Started to watch season 2, yes. And I don't remember half the stuff. Then go watch the recap. And it's broken down by parts. And then there's a full episode that has the entire season. Very complete. And there's probably a lot of stuff that you don't remember, even if you think you remember everything. So give it a watch. Yes, we watched the first episode of season 2. And what are your thoughts on it?
I think it's interesting because I was the one that sat there, watched all of season 1 a second time, and did a very thorough recap. And we got to what is essentially the after credit scene of season 1, which is that they're going to send another group to the island to try and get the elixir of life. And it ends with this image of who was put in charge of the Yamada Asaimon basically being stuck doing this. But then it kind of backtracks and adds this character that I genuinely don't remember existing in all of season 1. I don't remember seeing them.
Yeah. Well, which one? The leader?
Not the leader. The guy sitting next to him who said he came back from the island and he was able to eventually get off after they set up this island, which is basically impossible to get off of, not only because of the threats from the monsters and the Tencent, but because the currents push them back. We know from season 1 that there are people who do return because we see the boat with the guy that's turning into flowers, but he's basically dead. So I don't really understand how this guy managed to do that based off of the lore that was developed in season 1A, and B, just because I genuinely don't remember him.
I don't think we saw him in season 1 because they show what happened to his convict, and he was killed on the boat. So he didn't even make it to the island. He was killed on the boat by the Bakugo one, the one that looks like Bakugo.
One of the bandit twins.
Yeah, and he's killed by him, and then he's like, oh, I get to just go back now because my guy's dead.
Lucky
and
me.
I didn't even make it to the island, but then he ends up landing on the island, and he's kind of dodgy on how he got back. He literally says, like, it doesn't matter. We're not going to talk about that. So I feel like that might come into play at some point on how he got back, because he specifically calls out the fact that he's not going to talk about it.
And he doesn't want to talk about it or go back. I think the only thing I could see was there is a brief clip when they're first landing on the island where everyone starts getting like weaned off, or not weaned off, but like murdered by everyone else. And he might have literally been in like a second long clip kind of thing, which like you blink, you miss it.
Yes. But I think that's why we got the story on what happened as a little clip here. And I think we'll learn more since we now know that he's going back to the island. I think it's interesting that we're going to get more of the Yamada Asaimon going to the island now, so we're gonna learn how the other ones, like some other members of the clan, fight and such. For a moment we thought we were gonna find out about the little guy who's with the sword dragon, right?
Blade dragon.
Hey, close. But we were like, oh, we get to see him fight. We haven't seen him yet. You called it out specifically, and then they cut away and they cut back and it's already done. And it's like, oh, so we didn't get to see him fight. Most of this episode is fighting between the blonde one who got stuck in the pit in the last season is fighting Gabimaru, and he's now super strong because he had the Tau plants kind of like merged with him.
That's what the Doshi thinks happened. They think that the plants in the pit that were supposed to turn him into Tao merged with him, and he's essentially fighting more like a Tensen now, and he can sense and see Tao. And I remember at the end of last season, his brother makes a comment about how the tattoos around his neck are changing, and you can actually see them forming and changing during the fight as he becomes more like the Tensen.
That's interesting. We're going to get more of that fight continuing in the next episode. We get a little bit more from the Tensen in this episode. It starts off with them, if I'm not mistaken, and we see them kind of interacting in their little, this like hot springs area.
They made a new training room.
Yeah.
Partially for Bo Jujitsu.
Just naughty stuff. So we get a little bit from them. We get a quick scene with Sagiri, Yuzu, and
Nurgai, Shion.
Yeah. And they're just kind of talking about how Yuzu, she wants to meet up with the Asaimon that are coming. So that she has like, oh no, so she wants them to leave because she wants to make sure that she has people who will back up her statements on what happened when she tries to leave, that the elixir of life doesn't exist. So she wants to leave with Shion and Sagiri. So there's actually some Asaimon that are left that can back up what she says.
And hopefully she won't, get murdered for being on basically death row in the real world.
Yes. I mean, I don't see why the shogunate would care what the Asaimon says, because they even kind of confirmed a thing which you've actually talked about in a video specifically about the Asaimon being expendable. They talk about that when the acting leader of the clan is talking to the guy we don't remember from season 1, the other member, and is basically saying like the guy's basically saying like we're expendable. So we definitely get that impression that they're kind of just sending them there because they don't care if they come back.
The other interesting thing is that they kind of drop this thread in the middle of season 1 where, for whatever reason, Gabimaru makes a comment saying he knows that his people are going to come, his people being the Iwagakure. And then they kind of don't bring it up again. But when they were having that conversation with the people who worked for the shogunate, they mentioned the Iwagakure again and that they're also going, which makes me wonder how Gabimaru knew that, being that it seemed like it wasn't decided until after he had left, but also makes me think that the Iwagakure are people that are either expendable or someone that the shogunate wants out of the way because of their prowess with martial skills.
Well, I get the impression that, it looks like the Iwa shinobi are going in place of convicts this time. So it's like one of the Asaimon.
They're bringing convicts too.
No, I thought they killed them, and they said like it was stupid to bring convicts the first time, and they're bringing the shinobi this time. Well, either way, but I get the impression that there's like something going on with the leader of Iwagakure in terms of his history with the island, because he does have the immortality thing too, where he can't seem to die. And he says that he left something on the island, and then as soon as he says that, they cut to Gabimaru, which implies that he meant Gabimaru, but it also could mean something else related to what's on the island. But there is no elixir of life. That's been established, so we're not sure what's going on.
According to the Tensen.
Yeah.
They could be lying, but what they're saying is that Tao for them is essentially an elixir of life and supports them, but it turns everyone else into a tree, which is basically what happened with, I believe his name was Hoko.
Yeah.
The tree guy.
But we have already seen that individuals that are not from the island, that are not Tensen, can merge with the plants there and not be turned into trees.
So maybe there's just an initial step that some people skipped because they were silly.
Yeah, and I think we'll learn more about what's going on with the clan leader of Iwagakure, or village leader, whatever they're calling him. The village hidden in the stone. Iwagakure is I remember that from Naruto. But so, any closing thoughts on Hell's Paradise Season 2, Episode 1?
I think it was definitely packed full of stuff. I feel like everything that happened with the shogunate and his people kind of seemed a little out of left field to a degree. Like, we knew some of the information, but the rest of it, I was just like, I feel like you threw that in there for the sake of throwing that in there. It was definitely very action packed. There was a lot of fighting. there's still the issue of Gabimaru not remembering really what's going on and having sort of glimpses of what he should remember, but just doesn't remember.
Basically not remembering his wife for the most part, and his Tao not reaching his head. And I am getting the impression that it's like, because he doesn't remember his wife and he doesn't remember like his quote unquote weakness, which is like the non-hollow part of himself, which is the one of the sources of his strength. He's weaker right now because he doesn't have that source of strength, which has been kind of a through line with him since the beginning, like that makes him not hollow.
Yeah, and I think that eventually as May continues to mature, she'll be able to explain what she means better, because a lot of what we're getting in terms of lore is coming from the Tenshin in little snippets, things they're guessing at but don't really confirm, and then May saying things that to everyone around her for the most part really don't make sense.
Yeah. She speaks in a very broken manner. I don't remember her speaking like that in the dub, but it's very broken in how she speaks, at least in the sub.
Well, originally when she was younger in appearance, she didn't speak at all.
Yeah.
And then she suddenly aged several years and she could speak, but it was that kind of cryptic way of speaking.
Yeah, so that's episode 1 of season 2 of Hell's Paradise. Again, check out the recap. It's up on the channel if you want to get refreshed, or if you just want to, watch it just to see if you forgot anything, just to make sure you have all the info. And then I think we're going to discuss some of the new anime that we have watched. So starting talking about some of the newer anime that we've watched, In the Clear Moonlit Dusk. Right?
You did it.
Yeah. So this one is an anime that is, of the romance variety. It is hetero romance, not yaoi, not boy love, not yuri, not girl love. It is, old-fashioned hetero romance. Even though they kind of do a little bit of boy love bait in like the artwork of the anime. If you just were to look at the cover art that they give you for the thumbnail on Crunchyroll, it looks like two guys, and that's kind of a through line of it, where you have the main character who it's Y-O-I, Yoi, I think, and she is known as the prince because she is, though beautiful, she is like more like manly looking in both her mannerisms, how she dresses, and how she acts. She's very chivalrous and heroic and such. So all of the girls love her and admire her as the prince, they call her. And she ends up coming across another man in their school that I guess she wasn't aware of. And he wasn't aware of her either, but who also is referred to as the prince.
She moved up. I think she just got into high school, which is why they didn't know each other.
Because she's a first year. And he's also known as the prince. She refers to him as the provisional prince. So she's placing herself above this prince. And there's a budding romance going on there where he kind of wants to treat her more like a princess because that's something that she hasn't been treated as. And what are your thoughts on this?
I think the problem I had with this is that I wanted them to lean into the fact that she is female, but looks very masculine a little longer with the love interest. Most people who have known her and who are in the school know that she's in fact a girl, but still refer to her as a prince. And even though they're girls, presumably who like boys, swoon over her all the time. Fine, don't have an issue with that. But I think if you're going to have that premise and then within the first 10 minutes or so of the first episode, basically just throw it out the window and be like, well, I'm going to treat you like a princess. It's like, can we have that tension for a little bit? Can we just explore this for a few minutes beyond a superficial level and then kind of break into it a bit? I feel like that aspect was a little too rushed. I wanted them to do more with him thinking it was a guy that he was developing feelings for.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
I could see that as being more entertaining. I found this kind of boring. It was very bog standard, even though it had a premise to it, like you're kind of mentioning. It didn't really lean into the premise that much. If it had like you were saying, where it's led on as like, oh, he thought that was a guy, and it was like a boys love, like faux boys love kind of thing for a while, then I could see it being a little bit more unique. But it really just ended up being kind of a bog standard romance
with a girl that's quote masculine looking.
Yeah, and I don't know, it didn't really have a lot to it, at least in the first episode. I don't think I'll watch the second episode, so I guess I'll never find out if it turns into anything else. And it's kind of funny because I'm reading a manga now that is, the premise is, I mean, it's a Yuri manga, so it is a girl who has a crush on this guy that works in a CD shop that she goes to, and she doesn't realize that it is actually her female classmate that works there. And so it's like, I don't remember the name of it really. It's like the guy I love, she likes isn't a guy at all. Yeah, the guy she likes isn't a guy at all, something like that. And that's the similar-ish premise, but that actually leads into it for like a full volume, or almost a full volume, of her thinking that it's a different person and whatnot. And there's like more of a dichotomy between like her outside of school and her inside of school, and there's more to it. So you'd think, given the premise, how kind of similar it is, that I would like this, but I really just kind of found this boring and standard.
I think they just dropped the idea too quickly. I really don't have an issue with any type of romance as long as it's like well done. It's not my favorite genre, I'll admit that, but if you do a good job with it, like, I'll watch it. But I think this one just kind of dropped the ball by rushing things too much. I think it could have developed something really interesting and really forced the provisional prince to question like what love means to him and what attraction is, and like all these complex topics that we now basically can't explore because he already quote knew he was straight.
Yeah, it's basically just going to be it just seems like it's just going to be a standard romance from here. I mean, there might be a little bit of, well, I'm not used to being treated like this because I'm used to being treated more masculine and you're treating me more feminine. But then it seems like it almost leans into like, oh, it's going to lean into more like upholding societal standards, kind of like gender norms and stuff, which is normally these kind of anime that have a premise, when you like read it at face value, you'd be like, oh, this is probably going against some gender standards and kind of questioning that, but it seems like it's going to go lean into that more. But I don't know. I'm probably not going to continue it. So if we're doing a should you watch kind of thing here, I'd say no. I know there's plenty of other ones out there that are like, if you're just looking for standard romance, Sign of Affection, that's a good one. It's got a twist to it.
And since we share TV, I don't see myself watching this if you're not watching this.
Yeah. Well, we'll have one later on that I'm kind of salty that I don't think you're going to continue either, which means I'm probably not going to watch it until after the season's over. But we'll address some of the other new ones that we've watched. But this one, I don't know, both of us kind of find it like it's okay. I mean, it is what it is, but it's not something that's going to be worth our time, I feel
special. But you are my special.
You are my special. Do, 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 do. Speaking of which, that season 3 culling game is coming this season. It hasn't started yet, I don't think, but yeah, JJK. Continuing forward with the new anime we've been watching this season, we're going to talk about another one that we just recently watched a couple days ago as of time of recording, and that is The Demon King's Daughter is Too Kind. That's 3 in a row I've gotten the correct names for. One of them doesn't count, I guess, because it's the second season of something I liked. But that's 2 in a row of the new ones that I gotten right. But yes, so this one we watched the other day, and the premise behind this one is, in a general sense, the Demon King's daughter is too kind. Yes, the Demon King is, big, kind of badass guy. Kinda. I mean, when he's in combat, I guess he's badass, but when he's outside of combat, he seems just kind of derpy. But and he has a very young daughter, and she is, really nice little child who is nice to people and doesn't want to do demon things necessarily. I guess it doesn't really have an opinion on demon things because she doesn't really
seem to comprehend things.
She doesn't really know what's expected of her besides what she's told. And she is being taught by one of the generals who may also be his daughter, but I'm pretty sure it's just a general, even though the girl refers to her as big sister. The Demon King has tasked this general of his to teach his daughter to not be kind and to be evil and be demon oriented. And we've watched the first episode of this. What do you think of this?
So I think this one is something that felt very jumpy toward the beginning. It's one of those ones, and I don't mind this, where it's kind of divided into two sections, where like the first half is basically like one mini episode, the second half's another mini episode.
It might even be more than that. It kind of seemed like there was like three micro stories in one episode, but
I think it was because they were introducing the Demon King doing Demon King stuff and like taking over, and then all of a sudden he has a kid and the kid is not demon like, and he's like, oh my gosh, I cannot function because my kid is not good demon enough.
Yeah, like I have to spend all this. Yeah, I have to spend all this time, being concerned about my too kind daughter that I cannot focus on being a Demon King
because daughter is a failure.
Yeah,
essentially.
But he also dotes over her and such, so...
The general thinks that the reason why she's so kind is because he dotes on her, and then she's like, oh, no, she just hasn't awakened her demon instincts. I got to awaken them. So she'll be like, okay, go steal, and give her like little cue cards, and then she gets everything wrong. It doesn't steal properly. And I think overall it's a very wholesome anime. I think it's not something that's going to bother you if you need like a chill watch. I think it's great for that. But in terms of storyline and entertainment value, there isn't a whole lot going on. It is very jumpy. The animation's nothing special. It has very fluffy Paradise vibes.
Yeah. I really didn't like Fluffy Paradise towards the end. I watched the whole thing because Elaine really liked it, but I really didn't like it by the end.
It was better in the beginning.
Yeah. It at least had a little bit in the beginning that was keeping me watching, but then it started to have like a storyline to it. And it's like, I mean, you were just being cute for the sake of being cute, and then you tried to have a storyline, but it was also, you were still being cute, so it was just a bad storyline. But so I really didn't like that towards the end, and this seems like it's gonna have that kind of vibes. It also seems like it's gonna have the vibes of the 'Tis Time for Torture Princess, which I also really didn't like, and I think we only watched one episode of that, and that's actually coming back, season 2, airing the season. So, I don't know, maybe we'll have to watch the first one and start watching season 2. I really didn't like that one, which seems like another wholesome anime. Sometimes I like wholesome anime, but most of the time I really don't. It's not what I watch my anime for.
You're like, I need stakes and depression.
Yeah, I need
add to my anxiety at all times.
Yes. And, but yeah, so I wasn't a huge fan of this one. I mean, it was cute. If you want a cute thing that has a cute main character that's like a little girl, and it had some amusing moments, like funny moments, especially towards the end with the salt, the mind control salt or whatever it was. And it had those moments, but I'm not a huge fan of it. It seems like it was too wholesome for me.
Because, we need to add to his depression.
Yes, need to add to the anxiety and depression all the time. Everything must be heavy. It looked good. The animation was nice. The demon designs were kind of bleh. Like, I feel like most of the times it's just like, you're just a normal person with a horn, and that's pretty much what makes you a demon. So I don't know. I definitely feel like that could be better. One of the things, I'm actually wearing a Frieren shirt, and Frieren coming back this season also was one of those ones that was really disappointing, where it had a really cool demon design in one episode, and I'm like, oh, that's what the demons are going to look like, and then they just look like people with horns and wings for the rest of the thing. It was like, oh my god, you had a cool design. Why didn't you just stick with that?
Because that takes more work.
Yeah,
it doesn't sell figures and stuff.
No, but those would sell figures. I'd buy those figures rather than the normal looking person with wings.
But remember, weebs like waifus.
Yeah, well,
waifu demons.
Waifus can be like demon masked individuals. Just give them boobs, and then they become waifu material. But okay, so in terms of this anime, I don't think I'm going to continue watching it. What about you?
Because he's not watching it, I'm not watching it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, would you watch it?
I mean, it wouldn't be my go-to. Like, if I was doing laundry and I needed something in the background.
This subtitled anime that's probably never going to get a dub.
Noise. Yeah. But I mean, do you really need to read everything that's happening? I feel like the pictures are enough to surmise.
You can get a general sense of what's going on. So that kind of classifies what this would fall into for us. So should you watch? I don't think so, unless you really want something wholesome. But there's a lot of stuff out there that you could watch. So, sticking in the same vein of new anime that I don't think that I'll continue watching, it is A Gentle Noble's Vacation Recommendations. This is, right? Did I get it right?
Recommendation, singular.
Oh, God, you could have let me slip by with that one.
No, never.
But this one is, I guess, a BL anime? Kind of?
Potentially. Essentially, it's an isekai where Protag-kun wakes up in another world one day, which is somewhat similar to his own world, but also different enough where he realizes he's not in Kansas anymore, as it were. And he sets out to build a new life for himself and winds up kind of sticking out because he's a noble in a non-noble area. Sells a sword for a lot of money. Recruits a bodyguard, which is a gruff adventurer of the B rank, because they always seem to have an adventurers guild where they rank the same way.
He sells a sword for 200 gold, and that's the only amount of money we get any actual concrete numbers on for the rest of the episode, even though it comes up multiple times. We know he has 200 gold to start off this adventure
with this guy, where they're kind of just setting up. He rents a room. He registers with the Adventurers Guild. He shows off that he can actually fight because I guess he got the noble training. There's really not much happening in this.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like most of it is so far is like the characters that we're supposed to care about are like pretty boy characters. He is the I'm smart but I also have this possessive side to me kind of character, because he claims like what is mine. He says the dark brooding bodyguard one is his, quote unquote, and the other archetype is the dark and brooding badass one, and then there's the guy that they meet at the Adventurers Guild who's very like stone-faced, kind of stoic character, but they're all pretty boys. And then the one character who's not a pretty boy is an antagonistic character for the episode, and you immediately know that because he's not a pretty boy. And it just seems like I'm not sure what they're gonna do with this. I have dropped isekai with more intriguing premises than this one, and I don't know what the hook is here. There's not really a hook to this one.
Going on vacation, apparently. I'm not seeing the vacation, because to me, if you're going to go out and you're going to be an adventurer, when you have 200 gold, which seems to get you around just fine. Yeah,
he hires the bodyguard and does the room and pays for his membership in the guild and whatnot.
The little case where he puts money.
And they don't explain what any of those things cost, but we know he has 200 gold from the sword.
I just feel like, you're not doing the vacation right. Yeah. You're doing work. You screwed up.
He wants to learn about the country and whatnot. And I'm assuming the general sense is going to be like, he has, a history of being a noble. And he apparently was a smart noble because he was really young, but was able to be, I think, like the top rank advisor for his king previously. It even gets called out that he was young, but so he's very good at it. So I'm assuming he's going to use diplomacy and interpersonal kind of manipulation and tactics to get ahead and impress people and get whatever he wants. And then we're going to probably get this won't he kind of tension between him and the bodyguard guy. And I just don't see what that's going to carry us to that isn't exactly the same as a bunch of other isekais. I feel like it's a similar premise to what you kind of got with what's the middle manager one, where he was like a manager guy and he ended up like I'm salary man in another world, like that one, which I also dropped, but I think was more intriguing than this one to get basically the same results. Right? What was it called?
I think it's like salary man in another world.
Hey, I was pretty close. That's exactly what I just said.
With like another few words in there.
Yeah, we have a review of it up on the channel, but because I think I watched one episode or maybe two episodes, and you finished it.
I did.
And at least that had a cool waifu design in it for the lead female character, but I don't know. I'm not going to continue this. The designs are nice. They're the pretty boy aesthetic where they all kind of look like that slightly effeminate male archetype that just has different hair color, which is pretty much what they all look like, the same character, but they just have slightly different hair color and they dress differently. But so if you're into that kind of thing, I don't know how much into the BL this is going to lean into. I don't know if it's going to be more of a bait thing or if it's going to actually like really lean into it. They kind of leaning into the emotional aspect of it in the first episode. They seem like they're hinting at it enough that it's probably going to be a plot point to some degree, but I will never find out at the very least. I don't know if you're going to watch it.
No.
Nice. So that's should you watch? No, from our perspective. Hate to say it, in case you were looking for, a recommendation to watch this anime. Jumping into the first new anime of this season that actually has some varied waifu designs is A Misanthrope Teaches a Class for Demi-Humans. Right? Yeah. And this is about a teacher who hates humanity, but is a human, is unaware when he makes a statement the first time that there are other things besides humanity, but he hates humanity and has given up on being a teacher because he hates humans, doesn't think they're worthy of being of teaching them. Because
they're dishonest and stuff.
Yeah, there's reasons. Dark, angsty reasons. And he has become a gamer. He's just playing games all the time. I think he's given up teaching for 2 years.
And Mama's like, it's time.
Yep.
Get out of here, boy.
He ends up coming across a job listing for a teacher that, I don't remember exactly what they said, something about being passionate for the students or something, like typical teacher stuff. And he goes to the interview. It's a virtual interview. And then he goes to, I guess, learn about the job. I guess his first day on the job. And goes to this place and he finds out that this is a school for demi-humans, or more specifically, students that want to be human but are currently not human. So you have things like mermaids and werewolves.
The equivalent of a werewolf.
Yeah, you have like a werewolf, you have a mermaid, you have, I don't remember what the girl with the red hair is, and I don't remember what the lolly is, but they have a bunch of different things. They show a bunch of students and they're all different things. And most of their types are not super relevant yet. The mermaids one's the only one that has a plot point that's relevant in the first episode when they talk about not wanting to eat certain types of sushi because it's eating like mashed up fish. And it seems like he's just going to get picked on by the students a lot of the time. He's going to be like, I'm a human and I know human stuff and you guys want to be humans. So I'm going to teach you how to be a human even though I hate humans. And I think he'll come to an appreciation for humanity while teaching them about humanity. So what do you think about this anime?
I have mixed feelings. I've watched a lot of anime with demi-humans in them, and typically they are either very looked down upon and not accepted by society, or they're otherwise trying to fit into society, and the person who teaches them a lot of time is just trying to learn about them and take care of them. This anime is a little different in that, yes, Protag-kun is their teacher, but he hates humanity and is trying to teach them to become human. I have an issue with this premise in the sense that I think it can go south very quickly. Not in that it won't necessarily be interesting, but when you look at that from face value, it's essentially saying like, hey, we don't accept ourselves as demi-human beings and we want to become something we're not. Which, if not done delicately, I think could be very problematic and send a non-ideal message to people who might be watching it. I do think it's interesting because I've never actually seen an anime where a demi-human could actually become human, although I've seen them use things like glamours and spells to kind of appear human. So that's my first concern.
You watched an anime that had a teacher that was teaching non-human students in it, wasn't it? That you did a review for?
Interviews with demi-human girls or something.
Yeah.
I watched it about a year ago. There's a review for it on the channel. The other thing that I think is interesting is I actually just watched an anime last season, Mechanical Marie, with the Misanthrope in it. And it's interesting to find them so close back to back because I feel like that doesn't come often in media, like a severe hatred for humans to the point where you don't want to interact with them at all. And I could see where you're coming from, where he might learn to appreciate humans more. But I think what's more likely is he's going to come to appreciate the differences between him and the Demi-Humans and develop a fondness for certain personality traits, and maybe eventually through them realize like, oh, humans can be like this too.
I mean, he has to kind of end up being like, they've couched him as a character who hates humans. The logical place that the character is going to grow is that he's going to grow to appreciate humans at the very least, because then he's not going anywhere. Like, he has no problem with Demi-Humans currently, so. Or
they're going to realize they don't really want to be human.
Yeah, like they could learn to accept themselves, but then they would be the protagonist, not him.
Maybe they're tricking us, man. You don't know.
Yeah, I think that, like you're saying, there's some aspects that it could go kind of wonky. I think in this, I mean, so far in this one, they've explained kind of why some of them want to be human. One wants to sing, one wants to dance.
I'm like, couldn't you just do that as a Demi-Human?
But I mean, maybe they want to be like famous. They want to be a famous singer, a famous dancer, and maybe being a Demi-Human version of that. There's only, I mean, it's probably not a lot of Demi-Human amphitheaters out there for them to do concerts and stuff. So I don't know, but the characters are very archetypal. They're very, well, these are the type of characters that these guys are, or these girls are, and they seem very bread and butter versions of those archetypes. There's like the bubbly kind of stupid one in the mermaid. There's the shy one with glasses in the werewolf. There's the deadpan lolly in the one with the pink / purple hair. Bunny girl, yeah. Oh, she was a bunny. That's what it was. I couldn't remember she had ears. Then there's the fiery, like loud, tomboyish one in the one with the red hair. And I don't remember what she is. But they all seem like they're gonna stick to those archetypes pretty like to the point where they've kind of called them out already in the first episode as to what they are. So you're probably not going to get a lot of variety there. There are other ones in the theme song, it looked like.
They're going to be more classmates.
Yeah, but that's the core 4 that he's, interacting with on a regular basis. And I don't know how much variance we're going to get out of the typical, I don't want to say harem, because they've kind of, I guess it kind of is harem-ish, but I don't know how much difference we're going to get from your typical harem in a school setting kind of thing. Are you going to continue watching this one?
I might. Like, it's all right. It's not offensive to me right now, but it's not anything really particularly special either.
I think I'd give this a couple more episodes to see what it turns into. I think by after episode 3, you'd probably get a good sense on what this anime is going to be and if it's going to be something that's going to be worth continuing or not. So provisional, yes, I think. It looks nice. It has decent voice acting from what we've seen so far. And it's colorful. I like colorful things.
You do.
But, and a setting we're all familiar with. It is high school. It's right, the comfortable anime setting. So provisional yeses from us on the should you watch aspect of this. Continuing to talk about the new anime that we just watched the first episodes of as of time of recording, we are going to talk about the adventurer's daily grind at age 29.
You're doing great, Chair.
Yeah. This is an anime that I like the concept behind because he's an older protagonist. I mean, 29 is still younger than me, but is older than being in high school. So we're like halfway in between. So we'll take a little bit of it. But I appreciate that it is kind of a protagonist that seems like they're kind of over how things are, but they're existing. And I kind of like that mentality for a lot of protagonists. But in this one, it is an adventurer who raised on the street, I guess, because he, I don't remember what was the thing. Did his parents die?
He might be an orphan.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Either way, he lived his life on the street, so he understands the bad side of society and humanity, but he has pulled himself up by his bootstraps, and he is an adventurer that people really like, and he helps people out, and people have a positive outlook of him. And one day he is going into a dungeon, and he ends up coming across a small child who is being eaten by a slime. In this, that's not very bad, I guess. You don't like turn to get melted by acid or whatever when you get eaten by a slime in this one. You just kind of get stuck in the slime. And he saves her, and she kind of guilts him unintentionally by saying she doesn't have any food. And he kind of adopts her.
Reluctantly
Adopts her. And so we get this little found family dynamic where he doesn't know how to act with her, like the kind of parental figure kind of thing, but he also doesn't want to have her be in the same position that he was in, where she's abandoned on the streets and, can't raise herself and is hungry all the time and all that kind of stuff. And we think we're going to get that kind of a dynamic through the whole anime. It's going to be like a father-daughter found family, lone wolf and cub kind of thing. But then it turns out that at night she turns into a waifu and drains him as a succubus. But
spoilers.
Yeah, but it's we don't know if she knows that this is happening and she's just not saying anything, or she knows when she's in succubus form but she doesn't know when she's in girl form. And he doesn't know by the end of the episode, though. The other one finds out. The elf one, I think she's an elf, right? The Adventurers Guild secretary.
And he knows she's some sort of ancient being that, grows boobs, and he's like really into that.
Yeah. Well, he mentions it, and he tries to get a reaction out of the females when he says that, where they're like, well, what kind of traits does she have? She has boobs. And then one of them reacts like basically like borderline slapping him kind of reaction, and he loves that. And then the other one just like doesn't react, and he's like, boo, you didn't react.
And that's it. She's basically not what she seems, and I think they're going to explore that. Maybe they'll start playing the sound effects we imagine we should hear when there are monsters on the screen.
It was the wolf.
It sounded like a zombie, and then there was another monster in the dungeon that they encountered, and I can't quite recall what it was. I think it was a boar, but it sounded like not a boar. Didn't it sound like a chicken or something?
It sounded the monsters so far that they've encountered just sound like obvious people making monster noises and not knowing what noises to make. Like they just said, make a bunch of monster noises, and they just like worked with what they had. But
I mean, it's fine to have a human make the noise. It's just the fact that like you see a wolf and you're like, oh, you think you'd hear like growling and howling and that sort of thing. But it's like
a Minecraft zombie.
And you're like, okay. And then you just think it's like a weird one-off thing, and then it happens again. And I'm like, will they ever get it right? That's the most entertaining thing. That's the question of the hour. Will they ever get it right?
Yeah, this wolf shows up twice, or not the same wolf, but the same type of wolf shows up twice, and they do the same noise both times. So that's just what wolves sound like in this world.
Apparently.
But that was amusing. This is one that I'll keep watching. This is probably, out of the new anime that we watched, towards the top, which is, I guess, not saying much considering I've said I wasn't going to watch any of the other ones. The Demi-Human one, I guess, is the closest to the one that I've said I got like a provisional, yeah, I'll keep watching it. This is probably my second favorite of the new ones that we've watched.
We haven't talked about the other one.
We haven't talked about the other one yet. But I'll keep watching this because I think it's got an interesting concept. I kind of didn't want it to go the way that it went, and I feel like it would have been better if it was just the, lone wolf and cub, father-daughter relationship thing. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes, because the way that they've set it up, it could lean into problematic territory, which, anime gonna anime. So it very likely could. But so I guess we'll see where that ends up.
I don't think this is going to be anything that really breaks the mold or is anything particularly special. I think we're going to see a lot of the same stuff that we always see. But I'm very interested to see the animal sounds. Like, I'm genuinely more interested for the weird sounds the monsters are making than anything else.
And the googly eyes slimes that look like Cookie Monster.
Weird. That was like if Cookie Monster was a slime.
That's what it would look like.
That's what it would look like.
And it comes up. It's actually a plot point about the eyes being the googly eyes. But yeah, so I recommend you give it a shot. See what you think. And we'll at least check in through the first 3 episodes, I'd say. But I think I'll probably just continue this one, especially since my plate seems pretty light considering the other ones that we've watched.
I mean, are you caught up on like Shangri-La? And
Yes, I am.
Liar.
No, I am. It ended in like the 50s. It seemed like it ended like halfway through a season. But either way, we'll talk about that another time. But this is a yes from me.
Okay, we watch.
Talking about another new anime that we're watching this season or have watched the first episode as of time of recording. We have a surprise isekai, which I guess I didn't really read the description, so I guess it would be a surprise to me, but I didn't expect it to be a surprise, be an isekai based on just looking at it. I thought it was just going to be a, fantasy anime, and that is there was a cute girl in the hero's party, so I tried confessing to her. And this one, we find out it's an isekai like 2/3 of the way through the first episode, or like halfway through the first episode, and it doesn't really affect the plot at all. It's one of those ones where it's like, well, this didn't have to be an isekai.
It did not. But the premise essentially is that there is a hero's party. It's got 4 members in it.
It's got the hero, the mage, the
cleric, priest,
and then the sword guy. I think it's just a sword guy. I don't know what the other guy is.
And they keep coming to try and defeat the Demon King, and they keep getting stopped by this one general who is our protagoon. And this general decides, hey, I'm not going to kill these people because there's this really cute cleric in the party. And he eventually meets with the Demon King, who's like, yo, why aren't you murdering these people? You totally need to murder these people, or I'm going to make your underlings murder these people. And he's like, I guess I'll do it myself, and totally doesn't do that. He makes a deal with the party, who's like kind of really bad at heroing, for being completely honest.
I mean, they're strong enough to beat every other aspect of the Demon King's army except for this one guy who is isekai protag power.
Yeah. So he makes a deal with them and is like, okay, I'll let you 3 go through if you leave the cleric here. And although the mage is all like, we should totally do this for the good of humanity, the others are like, oh no. And then the priestess is just like, no, you go ahead. And he confesses to her and basically explains, like, I'm not from here. Like, I'm basically like a human trapped in a demon body. And I think you're really pretty and I want to be with you. So the hero's party actually defeats the Demon King that time. And he gets to actually leave the castle and wrench off his horn and try to live a normal life.
Yeah. And he wants to, prove himself to be worthy of her affections.
And her mom.
Yeah.
You got to get mama's approval.
Yep.
Or it's bad.
He wants to be an adventurer, which he's already immediately proves that he is able to rise up the ranks from, was it F rank to D rank in like 2 weeks? And they said it would take him like months to reach the E rank from F rank.
So she basically tells him to chill because he sticks out a little too much.
Yeah, he's like, it's like the thing from Incredibles when he's doing the foot race dash, and they're like, no, just make it slow down a little bit. It's like, and he gets a proposition proposed to him by her mom, where she's like, do you want to marry my daughter? And he's like, I probably should say yes or whatever, but he says no because he has already confessed to her. She said no, and he wants to improve himself and prove himself worthy of, when he's making a living, that he will confess to her again, and then she will say yes at that point.
Hopefully.
And then it turns out that the mom was just testing him anyway.
So it kind of worked out that he didn't go along with that.
But yeah, it's the general premise. Tale as old as time, Ulysses. But if you get that reference, tell me in the comments. You get 1 million internets awarded to you. But it's a tried and true formula. I don't see it being super unique. I feel like it is going to be the hero, or not the hero. I guess the hero is another character, but the protagonist has a good heart, and they're super overpowered, and they're going to do a lot of heroic things, and we're going to get this potential relationship with this the cute girl in the hero's party dangled in front of us for season after season after season, and then it'll reach a season where it doesn't get renewed, and we will never get closure on it unless we read the manga. I guess that's what I'm getting from this. I can't imagine this is going to get too many seasons handed to it, though. In another world, as a vending machine is now on like season 3, I think. So 2, whatever.
Same with Bye Bye Earth.
Yeah,
which is significantly worse.
Those got renewed, so who knows? Maybe it's not a Yuri anime, so it'll probably get a second season. Am I bitter? Can you tell that I'm bitter? But what are your thoughts on this?
I don't think it's anything special, but it's kind of cute.
Yeah, I think it's fine. His power set doesn't particularly seem unique. He just shoots like demon colored beams.
He does demon stuff.
Yeah, he does generic demon stuff. And she is generic cleric, and there's generic hero who looks kind of like the hero from Frieren. Oh, Frieren. The hero, main hero guy in that same hair color, similar archetype. But I think they're all just kind of reading each other's cliff notes after a while. I'll continue watching this one. I'll give it a few more episodes.
See if it goes anywhere.
Yeah, see if it turns into anything. I think this is the kind of wholesome that I'm fine with. Like, there's a lot of the wholesome. We talked about one earlier about the Demon King's daughter, where it's just like it's just wholesome. It doesn't seem like there's anything else that's going to come out of it. This seems like there's a little bit of romance, and there's a little bit of we'll get some like questing where everybody's got the same way of advancing up the adventurer ranks in generic adventurer kingdom, and they all go from this one starts at F. I feel like you usually don't start at F.
I feel like they always start at F.
Do they always start at F? But whatever. So he's already D. So we went through multiple ranks already. So keep that pace going. He'll be S by the end of the next episode. And we'll see where it goes. We'll watch at least a few more episodes. Same for you?
Yeah. You're watching, I'm watching.
Okay. Now jumping into my top new anime of the season, and where me and Elaine are going to differ the most in opinion, I would imagine, is Sentenced to Be a Hero. This one debuted with a long episode. I think it was 58 minutes runtime. I don't know how much of that was theme song / ending credits or whatever, but it was basically 2.5 episodes as the start, and I enjoyed it. It was the general overview of this is they're in a world where there are demon lords, and there are also individuals known as heroes who are convicts of some sort. Like they're bad guys and they become heroes, and being considered a hero is a bad thing. It's something that you are kind of put into this situation where you cannot die, or if you do die, you can be brought back to life, and it's kind of torturous, and you are outcast. And then there's a holy order, like the holy knights, kind of like paladins, who seem to be the general good, force for good. The religious knights tend to not be good, even though they're viewed as good in most anime. And then there are other beings known as goddesses, who are beings that are created. I got the impression that they were created to fight demon lords. And a knight or a hero can bond with a goddess, and the goddess can give them power and whatnot. So our main character is Xylo. Hey, I was going to say Axel, but I knew it had an X in it. So it's Xylo, and he is like a sidekick kind of guy who steals stuff. That is his entire character archetype, is steals stuff for no reason except plot needs him to steal stuff periodically. And he steals the goddess and also steals an important item later on. And we get to basically get the setup of, fighting the things that the demon lords create, which are, what they call the demon blight, or
they're
demon
fairies
plague?
And they make like demon blight,
Yeah.
which is bad for humans.
There's like a plague, and the plague can corrupt the aspects of nature. It kind of gives me like Princess Mononoke vibes, but it corrupts the aspects of nature that it comes into contact with, and they call them fairies, but they basically seem like they're like perverted versions of animals, like
Predominantly frogs.
Yeah,
there are a lot of frogs.
Frogs there, but they also show like orangutans and wolves and stuff. But they become all like mutated and glowy and colorful and gross looking. And we get a fairly decent setup for the amount of time that we have. I mean, it is 2.5 episodes, so that's what, a third of a season almost, or a quarter of a season almost. But what are your thoughts on it? Just to start off with no spoilers, since we watched a lot of this one, like I don't want to jump in and go like immediate spoilers, but
I think for the most part, it has a very generic anime setup in the sense that there's like a demon lord ruler doing demon lord ruler things.
There are multiple demon lords
hurting humanity, and humanity has to fight back or risk being destroyed. Where this show differs from a lot of the other shows that have a similar premise is that heroes aren't necessarily the heroes we would think of in basically any other show. Heroes are people who have been accused of some sort of crime, tried, found guilty, and are being forced into basically fighting servitude. They can die and then be resurrected, and it's not only painful, but something that causes them to lose themselves. It's implied that it's a mixture of memory and also personality that is what is lost. And that's fine. I think that what bothers me about this show the most is that it introduces things in a sort of backward fashion. When I watch or experience something, I want every single moment to be meaningful, or I just don't care. I say that because we basically open with the theft of the goddess, and then
we don't know that immediately, but
that's what
the
it
aftermath
opens with.
of him trying to steal something.
And Xylo meets up with his sidekick, and he's like, oh, you shouldn't want to die. It's really painful. You lose this aspect of yourself. But we've literally just met Xylo, and we've only known this other guy for like 2 freaking minutes. And they're dropping this very big revelation on us as viewers of it's really bad if we die, because not only are we going to be reborn, and it's implied forced to like fight and do these things we don't want to do, but we lose aspects of ourselves. Like, that is very profound.
Yeah.
That's very scary. It's basically the equivalent of a person in our world going through the process of losing their memory, maybe having Alzheimer's. But because I was literally just introduced to these people, that has no real impact on me. And that is something that should have an impact on me because it's frightening.
I feel like the reason why they introduce it at that point is so the rest of the episode has stakes. Because if the implication is that like heroes can just come back, then there's no stakes. So you have to let the viewers know ahead of time why they care that they're going to die, or why we would care if they die, because it's still death, even though they can be brought back.
And then they go on and they talk about how the world is being destroyed and how humanity isn't doing great. And like the battle's really trying, like any sort of battle is. Like all these things that you can kind of relate to because there are wars here, and you hear about like soldiers having PTSD and all these horrible effects from going to war, and people dying and how that affects people because, you know, you don't get to be around your loved ones anymore, and so on and so forth. Fine. And then they talk about how this guy hates goddesses, and they don't reveal the reason until the end. And if you want to watch it, I'm not going to reveal it. But I haven't been brought to a state where I am invested in any of these characters to care about any of these freaking things. I literally went through this entire episode just like, I genuinely do not care.
I think that the view of this episode needs to be treated more like the view of the. So if you look at the first episode of Oshinoko, like the first episode of Oshinoko almost doesn't matter outside of the like one fact and then the end. Those are the only two things, like the setup and the end of the episode, and it's like 90 minutes long, and those are the only two aspects of that first episode that matter, because you're basically just setting the stage for what's going to happen in the rest of the series. And that's basically what this did, is it got us to a point where we get the threat level, we get the setup of the world, we get the stakes, and then we get the stage set with how the main character is going to, like, the main character's power set and what they're going to use going forward and why they are the way that they are. But we don't learn why they are the way that they are until the end, which I actually really liked learning it at the end, because we got to see how they are. And then we, like, as the last thing that happens, we get a justification as to why they are the way that they are. And it recontextualizes the whole, like, what we've been told up to that point when it has to do with, like, the religious order and heroes and the dichotomy between heroes, the religious order, and goddesses and all that. And we get that kind of recontextualized for us at the very end of this episode. And we kind of get in this like a self-contained story. If the end was told first, then it would basically be just a self-contained OVA. Like, I could see that as like a movie by itself. The way that they tell it, you can't really do it as a self-contained thing, because then being out of sequence kind of wonks it. But as a first episode, I think it does a really good job of setting the stage for what the rest of the show is going to be like. This is also one of the more anticipated ones from the year. It's the one I see, like, probably the most buzz out of any of the new anime. I don't know if there's any more that I am not thinking about, but this one seems to be the one that gets the most coverage, at the very least, that people are talking about. Part of it is probably that it dropped in like this, like almost movie length, like by anime standards, OVA or movie length episode is the first episode. I don't think that it's necessarily gonna break the mold, because all this stuff is stuff that's happened before. I also think the power set is kind of wonky. Like, the main character's abilities are like, I throw knives and they explode, and the goddess just happens to have a power that has to do with summoning knives and blades.
Well, I think you got to choose.
I don't think so, because she's the blade goddess. That's like her thing.
Yeah, but I think he got to choose from a set of abilities that she had.
Oh, all right. Well, that's not stated if that's true, but I got the impression that maybe that's why she like gravitated towards him so much, is like, hey, I'm the blade goddess and you throw blades. So it's like, it's like a match made in heaven. But her power is like, I summon a bunch of swords, and then your power is you take those swords and you throw them and they explode. He's like Gambit, but with swords. I'm not a huge fan of his power set. And I think that we're going to need to see more varied personality types for the religious order, because all of them are just, wow, you're a hero, you suck because you did bad things, and I'm the religious people and I'm good and pure and I care about honor, and that's all I care about above anything else. So everybody we met from the religious order is that exact archetype, and they had the exact same conversation with him. So we're going to need more variance from that if we're gonna, this is gonna transcend any archetypal boundaries. I don't know how different the demon lords are going to be from this first one. Like, we did a description of what the blight thing does. I don't know if that's going to be the same for every demon lord. They did imply that fairies are just a thing that demon lords summon. So, and the fairies are the polluted natural things, like the frog things is what they were referring to. But so I get the impression that it's going to be similar. Hopefully there's some differences. Like, this demon lord was like a bug thing. So I don't know if that's it didn't really do any bug things. So I don't know if all the demon lords have the same powers. Yeah. So I don't know if that's going to be the same for all of them, but I guess we'll see. Or you probably won't, because you're probably not going to continue watching it.
So painful.
I'm probably going to continue watching it. Probably not for a little while though. But I liked this one. I thought it was interesting enough. It's definitely worth another couple of episodes, because I'm curious to see more of the context that we got from the flashback that we get at the end of this episode. But you don't like it.
I don't. I need you to make me care before stuff happens. I don't really do well with let's introduce all this stuff and then slowly make you give a darn over the course of a series. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I like the we're at a spot and we kind of know where we're going, and then we kind of work our way back to figure out what's going on. I think that's why I like a lot of those mystery thriller, like the Harlan Coben things that I watch on Netflix. They're mystery, like crime thrillers, is because like you have a status quo, you have what's going on. This is the act that happens, and then as the season goes on, you learn about like the background scenarios that led to that and like all the context added to it over time. I like that structure, and I think this was more that structure than it is a straightforward in sequence narrative. I recommend you give it a shot. I think it's worth the 58 minutes, which is probably like 45 to 50 minutes of actual anime. I think it's worth watching it because I'm pretty sure this is the show. In that amount of time, you get a sense on what the show's going to be, so you'll know. It's like giving it the 3-episode test.
And I said no.
And she said no. So I think that's probably it for new anime, but we'll see what we're going to talk about next. So now we have talked about the returning after a period of time anime that we've started rewatching with Hell's Paradise Season 1 or Season 2, Episode 1. We have talked about the new anime that we have watched that we are not going to continue, the new anime that we've watched that we might continue, and the new anime that we're watching that we will continue. And now we are going to talk about the anime that never stopped, that are continuing over from last season and getting that 2-season treatment, which they did last year with Frieren, Apothecary Diaries, and was it last year that was Shangri-La Frontier?
I think it was Denmachi too.
Denmachi, yeah. So we had like 3 or 4 of them that straddled these same 2 seasons last year, where it was fall 2024 into winter 2025, and this one we have anime that are straddling the fall 2025 into winter 2026. Those 3 anime that we are going to talk about right now are Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider, Spy X Family, which I know it's just Spy Family, but it's always going to be Spy X Family, just like it's always going to be Hunter X Hunter to me. There's an X there. I'm sorry, you say the X. And then the other one is Garbage Hands. And
GACHIAKUTA.
GACHIAKUTA, which will always be Garbage Hands to me because that's what I called it the first time that I was talking to Elaine and was referring to it, and it just stuck. And there's not a lot of times that we've said GACHIAKUTA out loud, so it's just Garbage Hands. And it's funny because we talk about it with our friend group, and a big anime fan that we talk about who's actually been on the channel before, and I just referred to it as Garbage Hands, and he didn't even ask a follow-up question. So I don't know if that meant either he didn't care or he knew what I was talking about by Garbage Hands. But so we're just going to talk about those 3, one right after another, in this one little section here, starting off with Spy Family. Probably the least to talk about because it's kind of more of the same. What are your thoughts on where Spy Family is currently?
I feel like they're doing more to develop Yor and Lloyd now than they had done previously, where I feel like a lot of the focus was on Anya and the other characters. I kind of like that, but at the same time I don't, because I've never really liked Lloyd. I feel like you're not watching this show for Lloyd. For the most part, you're not really watching it for Yor. You're watching it for Anya. So as soon as they're not the focal point, it's not as interesting, but I think they did what they could to make it more interesting. They're trying to, at this point, make Yor figure out like how to be a quote proper housewife, and is causing some sort of problems, and Lloyd's just trying to keep everything together, but Jesus Christ, he's so boring. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like we've seen a progression of the plot without intending it to be a progression of the plot. And I say that because the show's premise is basically like Twilight is on this mission. He has to come up with a fake
Operation Strix
to get close to Desmond so he can stop wars and bad things.
He's like a high up political figure in the, I don't remember which country they're in.
Estonia,
and then Westalius, and then Northumbria and Southlandia. I don't remember what the other two are called, but
the point is, it's like this stupidly complicated long-term plan of using Anya to kind of like wheedle her way in with the children of the family, specifically the second son, and then allow Twilight to complete his mission. And we've spent a long time where Anya basically has not progressed toward this goal, and Twilight on his own has not progressed toward this goal. I mean, we did nothing like all last season. We
got happenstance eventually towards the end, and it just like kind of happened through nobody's actions.
And this time there was a whole like bus plot, and it didn't seem like it was a reason for her to, like, if you were just going into it, earn Estella and progress that original plot, but she winds up earning Estella and actually progressing the plot for the first time in probably a good 24 episodes, at least. So that was kind of exciting. Yeah. I think it's been interesting. It's weird, though, to see them develop Lloyd as like a young character before he became Twilight. I don't know if I really cared.
Yeah, I don't know if it really mattered, but like they do, the whole thing is I think the creator has come out and said that this is a story, like the spy stuff is supposed to take a back seat to this being a story of a family. And I like that aspect, and I like the interpersonal dynamics. And I mean, I could have lived without Lloyd's backstory, but it's cool. We got it. We kind of, the thing that turned him into Twilight. And it was, I guess, designed to be the focal point because it's the theme song. Like the theme song is the flashback scenes. But I have come to realize about this show how much I just want the Anya stuff. Like I really could just do a show that's just the Anya stuff because it's the part of the show that I enjoy the most. I like the comedy aspects of it. I like Anya as a lovable, cute, stupid character. And I think that is when the show excels, is when they're focusing on her. And even like the bus plot had stakes, and you got to see growth from her and like her everything. But it was, broken up by the comedy. And like, I really watched this show for the comedy aspects of it. And when they try to do like heavier stuff, I don't think it hits that well, even though you'd think that it would, because I tend to get connected with characters and get emotional with characters, but the Lloyd stuff really didn't hit me at all, and you feel like it would. I really kind of was just bored. And then we did a filler episode with the guy, the not principal, whoever, one of the teachers at the school who was like going through therapy with Lloyd because he's a psychiatrist in his alternate life, and that was boring. And it's like I just found myself going like, can we just get back to Anya stuff? I like Yor as a character to a degree. I thought she was funny with the whole getting drunk thing with her girlfriends, and that but she also has a similar archetype where she's like stupid, and that archetype works in this show, where like Twilight's overthinking everything, and he always has this constant like stream of, I should do this, these are the layers of the plans, and yours like, oh my god, we don't hate each other, does that mean people think we're not actually married? So I'm gonna get drunk and I'm gonna try and come up with a reason for us to fight with each other.
I need a gripe.
Yeah, I need a gripe, and spends 2 episodes trying to do that. So I don't know, I think this show, I'm kind of actually worried about I know there's a time jump at some point, because I know there's an older version of Anya that becomes the focal point of the show at some point. And I'm worried that the show's not going to be as good when they time jump.
But then we just stop watching. It's fine.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm enjoying it for what it is when it knows what it is. When it embraces its lane. Stay in your lane, Spy Family. Moving beyond Spy Family, gonna go to Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider, which we are continuing to watch, and I think Elaine is only watching continuously at this point because I'm guilting her into it, because she drops everything else that I like and she doesn't like, so I'm just kind of guilting her into watching it.
I know it makes him happy.
Yeah, I know Elaine really doesn't like this show.
I don't.
Yeah, and hasn't liked this show because you didn't recommend it from the very beginning. When we
That
did
is
our first
accurate.
Should You Watch episode, she said no, and she's continued to watch it because I make her watch it. I like this show because it's adults doing stupid crap and really taking seriously things that they should not be taking seriously to such a degree that it's absolutely ridiculous. We just had a tournament arc where all the heroes fight each other, and it has been canonically proven at this point that if you take off your helmet and that gives away your transformation and you are now weaker because you took your helmet off. And I think that is hilarious. I think they are so over the top that and they're so earnest about it that it circles back around to being ridiculous and funny and actually earnest. And it's about, not giving up on your dreams. That's really what it is. It's about, do you want to send the message that people should give up on their dreams? This is the ultimate thing of, despite however it impacts my life, I'm going to follow through on my dreams. And if you want to be like the father in Step Brothers at the end, who's like, I wanted to grow up to be a dinosaur and I gave up on that and I regret it. These are the people that said they wanted to grow up to be dinosaurs and actually grew up to be dinosaurs. What do you think?
I mean, this show is so ridiculous. It's just like an adult, just an entire group of adults,
It's wish fulfillment.
And freaking out over everything, and it's nauseating. They're just so bonkers.
Absolutely.
And he likes it, and I don't.
I love it.
That's all there is to it.
I love it. It's so stupid. I love it. I think it's one of those things where it's like, if it didn't take itself serious as it does, it wouldn't be as good, because the fact that they take themselves so seriously is the funniest part of the show. And every once in a while, there's the evil. There's a character that's from the evil faction that is no longer from the evil faction, or I guess it still are the Shocker faction. And she will make a comment every once in a while that's like, what is wrong with you guys? And it's like, you can only have one of those characters, though, one or two of those characters in this show at most, because if you start getting too many characters that are looking at reality as reality, it kind of it lampshades too much stuff and the show doesn't work. Most of the characters have to take this stuff really seriously for it to work. I think it's cool. I think it's very cool, and I think Elaine just doesn't understand. She doesn't understand what it's like to have a dream, and to
said that last time.
Yeah, I know.
Move
to
on.
have that dream crushed by reality. I'm going to continue watching it, and Elaine will continue watching it because I hold her hostage whenever I put it on. We are a couple of weeks behind because I refuse to watch this subbed. I want to watch this dubbed because I don't think the ridiculous earnestness is going to come across as well if I'm having to read subtitles. I feel like I need to hear them proclaim all of this stuff in my native language that I can understand to get how ridiculous it is. Plus, it also reminds me of Power Rangers, which was also a thing that was originally in Japanese and then was dubbed into English. But so moving on to that, we're going to move on to Garbage Hands. GACHIAKUTA?
Sure.
GACHIAKUTA. This is a show that we also did a Should You Watch on, and this is your typical Elysium setup, Alita Battle Angel, a bunch of those things where it's like there is a powerful, rich segment of the population that lives in something, whether it's a floating thing or an island or a mountain in the sky, and there are the rest of the population that lives on what is left of the planet. They throw all their garbage down there, and the people who live on the planet still have discovered this ability called they call them givers, right? Yeah.
So the top level is rich people, and then there's also a more poverty-stricken area where the main character Ruto is from. There are certain laws regarding, trash and how it's handled, and also just the kind of laws you'd expect here. If you murder someone, that's frowned upon. So he gets thrown into the pit, which is where he is now. And it's kind of just a big old heap of trash, but it's not the trash that you would see in a dump here. It can be brought to life. They can become trash beasts and other monsters that things called givers, which basically gives an inanimate object a life or a power fight against. So Rudo winds up with the cleaners who try to get rid of all these trash beasts, but they're also kind of like rogues and other groups that are trying to work behind the scenes and do things like get to the sphere and cause trouble for everybody.
Yeah. So at this point, we have gotten some deeper lore. There's this whole thing with the Watchmen series, which is the gloves that the main character has. It's obvious from the very beginning that the gloves that the main character has are very important. But we don't really know. There's more to him that we don't know yet. Still, even like we're essentially in the equivalent of season 2 at this point, because it had its first season and now we're in like episode 20 something, right? Has it been that much?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the 20s. So it's been going on for a while. And we still don't know much about Rudo specifically, but we know that like the things that he had, the gloves that he has are important. And we've learned a lot about the Givers. We've also met the big bad, I assume is the big bad at this point, and kind of the motivations there, which is a little all over the place. So I feel like we got a few episodes of monologuing there where the big bad and Rudo were just Rudo was just listening to the big bad monologue, and that monologue kind of touched on a lot of stuff. I feel like he hit a lot of, I'm this villain archetype. No, I'm this villain archetype. No, I'm this villain archetype. And we haven't settled on what exactly he is yet. We also got a big supernatural reveal, like of a thing that we were completely unaware of, and like a name that's been dropped throughout that we now have a new context to, and we didn't even know it was a thing that was going to be anything like that. So that was kind of interesting. What are your thoughts on like where it's gone?
I think it's really kind of traversed the full gambit. Like we start in a very different area to the point where you almost kind of forget where the show starts off. And then you go to this like dusky, dirty, like very literal, like underground, where it's kind of a free for all. It's kind of a Wild West type of vibe.
Raiders, that's what they call them. I was trying to come up with the name of what the bad faction is. Raiders. And
everybody is kind of more or less in it for themselves, but they also have teams, but they kind of don't always really have teams.
There's like city states. It seems like they're like walled cities kind of.
And I think sometimes it feels like genuine and like earnest in how the characters relate to each other. And then there are other times where it dials up like the anime-isms to an extreme. And there's not this like balance. It's always on like one end of the spectrum of being kind of like chill and kind of learning things in like a natural, organic way where the pacing is comfortable and there's combat and stuff. And then it's just like dialed up to the point where like your brain's kind of fried.
I feel like we shifted a little bit on what the focus was, because there was a lot of focus initially on like respecting items and respecting, what they mean to people and the symbolism behind them and all that sort of stuff. Like we get that when Rudo kind of first uses his abilities when he's fighting the guy with the tux. I don't remember his name. Jangle, whatever his name is. Django. I think it actually might be Django, but the guy with the toxic fingers. And when he's fighting him and he animates the necklace, and the necklace was, belonged to the helper guy that helped. I don't remember what they call them. The cleaners. The cleaners are the good faction. They're mostly givers, and they destroy trash beasts and take care of the planet that they live on. And they have aides that aren't givers but help them. And one of them, he animates his necklace, and that necklace, had an aspect to it where it would protect anything. It couldn't harm, it could protect. And that was because of the mentality that that aide had, that constantly put it into that necklace over and over and over again, where that was what was the thing behind that item. And I feel like that kind of gets lost in some of the things when they start explaining the powers, where it doesn't really match up super well with some of them. Like there's the whole thing with the guy's like do-rag bandana thing, like can wrap around stuff, and why? Like, what is the mentality behind it? Like, they don't explain I thought about tying people up. And I talked about it with this do-rag all the time. And then there's the one who just punches stuff really hard, and I don't even know what his item is. Is it the binky?
Pacifier.
But it's like, why does it have to do with punching walls really hard?
Well, it's basically like the more he hits things, the stronger he gets. So I guess it's like
frustration or
like pent up frustration. Or when you think about why you give a child a pacifier, it's like, oh, you're getting them used to that, like sucking, like you're building up their muscles so that they can like drink and consume things properly.
Well, they also talk about he also talks about the thing with like, you should listen to what a kid is saying as well as what they're doing to understand them. So it's maybe like you give a kid a pacifier so they won't act up, like you're pacifying them. So it's like, it's his frustration with being pacified because he doesn't talk, but that connection's not there. Like it's not as connected as we get in the beginning when we first get an explanation of these things. When we get the boots explained, we understand why the boots do the thing that they do. There's another character who has a pair of boots, which are also from the Watchmen series, and they like make people like side with her, and from like the aroma that's given off, and I don't know, feet smell, I guess, but but there's a reason, because she doesn't connect with people and she wants to foster that connection, and there's a justification behind it. But I feel like some of them are just like, I don't understand. I guess we didn't really learn much about the umbrella yet, like why the umbrella or why the stick. I mean, the stick, I guess we kind of got a backstory, but why stick? Why, like, I don't know. I feel like it's a little dodgy, like where I was trying to make the connection as to the power system, and the power system kind of seemed like it was what the power system needed to be in the moment. I definitely felt like it started to show cracks. I like the characters. I think they have decent dynamic between them. I like learning the little bits of the backstories that we've learned here and there. We're even learning about characters that we didn't think we'd still be learning about, little fragments of, like now kind of into the second season. And I think it's something I'm going to continue watching at the very least. It's
got another few episodes, so we're definitely going to wrap it up at the very least and kind of see where it ends up, because I feel like it's just gone so many different directions that it feels disjointed at this point. And then they're doing that thing that I don't like, where it's like, oh, life-ending stakes, and then like, oh, they're not.
Life-ending stakes, then filler episode. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, it seemed like that should have been I guess that kind of was the finale. Like if you were to think about timeline wise, the world-ending stakes was where the finale would be if this was a single season anime. So just about where that was, and then we went into filler. Again, this is another one that we've gotten used to watching the dubbed version, so we're a couple of episodes behind.
We tried watching it subbed one time, and it was just terrible. Yeah,
I really didn't want the experience of the subbed episode, just because I had gotten used to how the specific character talked, and it just didn't translate very well when I was now listening to his Japanese voice in the sub. So I don't know. There's I don't know. I'm going to continue watching it. I want to see where it ends. I want to see where it ends up at the end of these 2 seasons, because that's a lot of time to spend on a seasonal anime. You should end up in somewhere significant after 2 seasons. And maybe it wraps up. I don't know how long this runs. But yeah, that's Garbage Hands. So that's where we are to start out the winter 2026 anime season. The returning stuff, the new stuff, the continuing stuff. We're going to try and do these going forward, see what we continue with, what we don't. There'll probably be a lot shorter than this one, because we'll cut out the ones that we don't continue watching. But maybe we'll have thoughts that expand beyond what we talked about with the ones that are continuing and returning, and the ones we are continuing to watch. But if you like this, please let us know. Let us know what anime you're watching this season. Let us know recommendations. Let us know anime that you've dropped. Let us know ones that you have not continued past the first episode if you've watched the first episode. Or ones that you read the description and you were like, nah, it's not worth my time. Any of those things. Leave it down in the comments down below. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe to the channel so you can catch more of this content going forward. And ring that bell so you know what's up. We'll catch you in the next one.
Bye, guys.